Ly Tu Diem here. Hello everyone. I truly wish you all good health and peace in your heart and home. Love that can be so beautiful, yet so fragile. Sometimes it blooms, sometimes it fades without warning. And now, I find myself asking a question I never thought I would. Is CEO Toan the man who once stood beside me in every storm slowly turning away from the child I've chosen to love as my own? The first light of dawn spilled across the terracotta tiles, but the gentle glow that once warmed Ly Tu Diem's heart felt strangely cold. In the cradle beside her mat, baby Sue, a tiny miracle whom destiny had placed in her arms, stirred and let out a soft whimper. Diem hushed the child and listened for footsteps. Many mornings ago, those steps had arrived with a tender good morning from Toan, his arms full of porridge and new toys. Today, silence answered back. A subtle distance. Business storms were nothing new for Toan. Yet ever since the Kanban project scandal broke, the pressure on the young CEO had become dizzying. Meetings devoured his hours. Legal files haunted his nights. Where anxious love once guided him home, exhaustion now steered him to the city penthouse, far from the modest farmstead where Diem and baby Sue waited. Diem tried to understand. She folded tiny clothes, swept the mud off the bamboo porch, and reminded herself that love was patient. Still, every unanswered message felt like a petal dropping from a once radiant rose. Is he ashamed of a child that isn't his by blood? The thought slipped in one afternoon as she rocked Sue to sleep. She chased it away, yet it returned, thorny and persistent. Cracks in conversation. When Toan finally appeared after 3 forlorn days, his smile seemed practiced, his hug fleeting. Sue reached out, fingers grasping the air between them, but Toan's laptop bag filled the space. "Tomorrow I need to fly to Ho Chi Minh City," he said, eyes drifting to the spreadsheet glowing in his hand. Diem forced a cheerful tone. "Sue misses your lullabies." "Toan, even a minute would mean the world." He hesitated, as though weighed down by a silent equation of time and returns, and kissed the baby's forehead quick, distracted. That night, Diem lay awake beside Sue's cradle and listened to the clock tick. She pictured the moments they had shared in the forest hut, when Toan risked everything to protect her from being sold, when he nursed her fever in the hospital corridor. How could love that fierce melt into this polite coolness so soon? A painful confession. 2 evenings later, Diem discovered Toan standing under the old mango tree, the one she had once called her hope tree. City light flickered on his phone screen. Legal updates flooded in. "Toan," she whispered, voice trembling, "I know the company is drowning, but are we sinking too?" Toan's shoulders sagged. "Diem, I'm terrified. Investors question my judgment about the project, about taking in a baby that isn't mine. They call it a distraction. I fear they're right." The wind carried away Diem's breath. "Distraction?" Sue's soft coo drifted from the doorway, as though asking the same bewildered question. The measure of a promise. That night Toan left for the airport. As his car rolled down the dusty road, Sue's whimpers swelled into full-blown cries. Diem clutched the child, tears burning her own eyes. "If love fades this quickly, what future can I offer you, little moon?" But fate seldom draws a single line. On his red-eye flight, Toan could not rest. Every seatbelt click echoed Sue's laugh. Every engine rumble recalled Diem's steady courage in the forest. A headline glared from his phone. "CEO faces probe, integrity in question." In that moment he realized the only irreversible failure would be abandoning the very souls who had shown him what integrity truly meant. Sunrise. Again, 3 days later, as dawn painted the sky coral and gold, Toan's footsteps pounded up the porch stairs. Breathless, eyes rimmed red, he found Diem and Sue curled together like 2 crescent moons. "I resigned from the Kanban deal," he said, voice raw. Let them call me reckless, my family comes first. Gently he lifted Sue, nestling the child against his chest. Sue blinked, uncertain, then offered a gurgling laugh that shattered the last shards of Diem's doubt. Love can fade, Toan murmured, but it can also be reclaimed if we fight for it, every single dawn. Diem's answer was silent yet radiant. She placed her hand over his, feeling the tiny heartbeat between their palms. In that fragile rhythm they heard the promise of a new beginning, one not written in contracts or bloodlines, but in the simple, stubborn choice to stay. Continued story, love fades away, but some love learns to stay. The sun rose higher that morning, casting a golden hue across the porch where Ly Tu Diem stood with baby Sue pressed gently against her shoulder. Toan was quiet, holding the edge of the cradle as if grounding himself, afraid that if he let go, everything might vanish like a fading dream. They didn't speak much that day. Toan stayed. He didn't try to explain more, nor did Diem demand it. Instead, he swept the yard while Sue napped. He stacked wood by the stove. He clumsily washed Sue's tiny cloths and spilled rice on the floor, trying to help Diem cook lunch. Everything felt unfamiliar, but he was trying, and Diem could see that in every awkward gesture. That night, as they lay on thin mats under the low-hanging mosquito net, Toan whispered, "I'm scared of becoming someone I promised I'd never be, a man who walks away when love gets complicated." Diem's voice was soft, steady. "Love is always complicated, Toan, but fear doesn't have to decide for us." Days of quiet rebuilding. In the days that followed, they lived simply. Sue's giggles became their morning alarm. Toan learned how to warm milk without burning the pot. Diem taught him how to wrap Sue in the old blue blanket so that she would sleep longer. Sometimes they walked together to the village market. People whispered about the CEO who had given up boardrooms for bare feet and baby bottles, but Diem didn't mind. Toan didn't seem to either. At night, they talked more about Toan's childhood, his father's silence, the pressure to succeed. About Diem's loneliness, the lost memories of her own parents, the betrayal that had left scars no one could see. Toan never pushed her to speak, but he always listened when she did. And for Diem, that was more powerful than any grand promise. A letter and a decision. One afternoon, Toan received a letter and offer from a foreign investor who still believed in his vision, despite the recent scandal. It was a clean deal, no shady partnerships, a chance to start again. But it meant relocating, at least temporarily, to another province. He showed the letter to Diem, heart pounding. "I want to take this chance, Diem, but not without you and Sue. I won't leave you behind." Diem looked at the letter, then at him. Would it be fair to take Sue from this peaceful place? She asked, her eyes clouded with concern. "She's only just begun to feel safe here." Toan kneeled beside her. "Home is not a place, Diem. It's where love stays, even when everything else changes. Let's build that home together." Saying yes, 2 weeks later, they packed the little they had. Diem wrapped Sue in the blue blanket one last time before folding it gently into a suitcase. Toan carried the cradle on his back like a man carrying not just wood and cloth but hope. As they left the farmstead behind, Sue gurgled in Diem's arms. The wind tugged gently at her hair. Toan reached out and held Diem's hand, firm and certain. He didn't look back, neither did she. Because love, when it learns to stay not out of obligation, but by choice, doesn't need to be shouted. It's written in every shared silence, every held hand, every dawn that starts with a promise. I'm here, still here. Emotional life lesson from the story. Sometimes, love isn't loud. It doesn't always arrive with flowers, grand promises, or perfect timing. Sometimes, it comes quietly carrying a baby in tired arms, cooking a simple meal, choosing to stay when it's easier to leave. This story teaches us that love is not defined by blood, wealth, or perfection. It is measured by presence, by the willingness to grow through uncertainty, to carry one another's pain, and to nurture what is fragile even when it's inconvenient. Toan could have walked away. The world told him it wasn't his responsibility. But his heart knew better, and Diem, though scarred by rejection, chose to believe again not in fairy tales, but in a man who showed up every day, despite his fears. We learn that healing doesn't come all at once, it unfolds in small moments. A shared meal, a gentle word, a hand held in silence. And perhaps the most powerful kind of love is the kind that doesn't fade when tested. It transforms. Because true love isn't just about how we feel, it's about what we choose to stay to protect. To believe in a future where no one, especially a child, is ever made to feel unwanted again. And so, we learn that being strong doesn't always mean standing tall. It can also mean kneeling beside a crying child or holding on when your hands are shaking. That family is not only made by blood, but by the quiet decisions we make every day. To listen instead of judge, to forgive instead of blame, to love even when we have every reason not to. Ly Tu Diem didn't ask for much, only to be safe, to be seen, to be treated with dignity. And Toan, in learning to love her, discovered that true strength lies in gentleness. They teach us that even broken people can build something whole. That even when the past feels too heavy, the future can still be light if we choose to carry it together. So the lesson we take with us is this: love doesn't fade when it is real, it only deepens. And the greatest gift we can give each other is not perfection, but presence, patience, and the courage to stay, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because in the end, what matters most isn't where we started, but how we chose to walk through the storm, and who we held on to along the way.